No, I didn't push go yet.
So funny.
I
Just
know.
ready to go.
Oh my God. And then my dog wants to bark. Hey, Honey Wash Day. This is Toksa Hour. I am Maggie Ross, and we are live from Porcupine, South Dakota, along the Porcupine Creek where the porcupines roam. And we are very fortunate again that we get to have Chas Jewett join us. This morning, we are going to talk about how our math is not mathing. So people have to figure out how to survive. Good morning, Chas.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day up here in Eagle Butte too. We got the wind blowing, but it's a nice day. And I did
Yeah,
see a big old porcupine the other day too, just for your people's uh, knowledge. We have a porcupine up there at Standing Rock too. Did you know that? You know that.
did you?
Yeah, there's a porcupine up in Standing Rock too. We
We
didn't
have
we
the
ran out.
wind blowing, but at least it's not 100 miles per hour. It really did in the roof of my chicken coop, and my chicken coop's just oonsh, but anyways, had to mend it. I just put like this house wrap over the top, and so it's just kind of like that. Poor chickens are just traumatized.
You really got to do what you got to do against that wind, man. It's a killer.
Well, you guys are kind of used to it up there on the flats.
Yeah, I guess we've already had a couple of prairie fires, and it's going to be an interesting year. Already this year having prairie fires. It's not even April yet. But I think the elements are all getting so much more aggressive. Which is, I mean, I guess it's about time.
So I was kind of last week, I think it was, or the week before, I read this story in Substack, and it's an article written by a lady named Carol Seymour, and it's called The Gray Camper Van Rider. And so it says the title of it is No Fixed Address: The Rise of Women Living Alone in Vans. More solo women are choosing van life not for adventure, but for survival. And so in this story, they're talking about Mesa, Arizona. So sitting in a Walmart parking lot, and you see a lot of people that are a lot of older females that are living this way. And what in the article they talk about, like they're doing it because it's more economically, it makes more economic sense for them because they can't afford the rent. And so always trying to figure out how you're going to pay rent, how you're going to pay your bills. And so people are just women anyway, single women are just making this choice that they're going to just live in a minivan and live. And so like we always see like on like travel magazine or whatever, and we might get like on HGTV or whatever, like the van life or the like, oh, beautiful, where they remodel everything and it's just top notch and it's just a good thing. You're parked out in the middle of nowhere and you put up your little shade and you're sitting out there with your coffee, the best life ever. And so that's what we might be thinking, even when we think about tiny homes, right? Like get a tiny home, and like that whole movement of downsizing. And then everyone's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, tiny homes are running at $100,000. It's like, well, this was supposed to be cost efficient, but now it isn't.
Yeah. No, things are going to be so expensive. People are, like we said before, the ice raid started last year, and now people are running out of inventory. Things are going to get just out of control. Who do they think is building these houses? Any houses anywhere is being built by immigrant labor. Americans, no offense or anything, but we don't do those jobs. That's why we need the other folks to come in who are willing to do them. And we don't do them, Maggie, because we expect to get paid. And they don't pay people enough to make Americans do those jobs, right? Americans cannot they don't get paid enough. And frankly, um, the economy is, been propped up so bad by the government and all these other, things that we're just like running on fumes in so many different industries. Like I'm surprised we're not, just all the way, in a full out depression and inflation is so much and they've robbed the consumers so much. I don't know if you saw those TikToks that are going around about the Lay's chips. Like you open them up and like one of them's full, one of them has like two chips in it, and you're like, and every single company has done that. Every single company has done that. They've shrinkflation, they call it. That everything is getting smaller. The product that we pay for is smaller. Someone weighed pounds of potatoes at Walmart and it was like 3.5 pounds and it was a 5 pound bag and so you have to and that is that Walmart's fault necessarily or is it the supplier? Either way the consumer is getting nicked and like it's just not gonna work for us and our people are already super poor so I can't imagine it can get any worse for us but the rest of America is really gonna start to feel it and I don't want to say, that's what you voted for, but that's what you voted for. And so you
But
voted for
even
a guy.
if you say that's what you get voted for on both sides, right? Because the Dems do it to us too, like, oh, make us big promises, and then they say, we can't do it. We don't got the votes.
That's right. That's right. And they always conveniently have enough people to vote against something. But people who are safe in safe districts, the whole system's rigged. And I don't know if did you hear about the paper warehouse that went up? There's a paper warehouse in I don't know, California, someplace. A man filmed himself lighting the paper warehouse on fire. So people are calling him another Luigi Mangione. It went up the whole thing. He hasn't been arrested yet, I don't think. But the whole uh, toilet paper factory went up and like hundreds of millions of dollars in damage the building and the all that stuff and the message that the guy said on the video is all you had to do is pay us a living wage and it's true. All you had to do is pay a living wage. The highest theft in this country is wage theft, and bosses are stealing from their employees over and over and over and over again. And it's got to stop. The way that the CEOs are making 1,700 times what the workers are making. Sometimes that's just not going to fly. And what happened during the French Revolution, let them eat cake. And
Mhm.
eventually those guys ate some cake too, and off with their heads is what I think what happened. And
And what was the
that's
Minnesota one?
what.
What was the Minnesota one?
Oh, the
What did
Minnesota
they say?
let them eat
Let them eat
grass.
grass.
Yeah. So like, eventually those kinds of attitudes are going to come back around. And truly, the United States of America has never been a place where, poor where community care has been forefront, right? They don't care about that. They care about defense, they care about whatever. First thing they do is they change it to the Department of War and they're just you're going to town. But I wanted to come back around to what you said at the beginning, the story of the women living in the vans. That's a total thing, and it's so sad. The other thing that's sad the elderly working as Walmart greeters. There's always these stories about, that one veteran who was like 83 years old, and he was working at places. The 83-year-old waitress, the America does not give a shit about its people. Like good people will work themselves to the bone here in this country and die eating tuna and cat food. Like it's a dog eat dog world, and it must be okay because everyone keeps voting in these same people who, poverty is a policy choice. They don't have the extreme poverty that they do like this in Europe, right? And they don't, and we live on, on the reservations. We're the poorest of the poorest of all the counties in the whole United States. And we have been for how long? I don't know, at least 50 years, I'm sure. But who knows? The South has been pretty poor too. So like, who this is an okay thing for them. It's okay for them to have poor people. And so, now everyone is they just move on to whatever is next happening. And they don't ever solve any of the problems. For how long now has Congress like done nothing on any issues, and things just continue to be bad, like the healthcare. Obama, that's when I first started to hate the Democrats, is when I worked the healthcare. I worked for healthcare for America Now, and Stephanie Herseth voted against healthcare for everyone. And Obama gave us Romney Care. Romney Care is insurance-led healthcare. And Romney did that in Massachusetts. And that's how he got it through, and that's how Obama got it through. So basically, we have industry-led insurance right now, and nobody can afford it. The subsidies have gone away. I've lost my Obamacare. I lost that. I can't pay. I can't afford that, and a lot of other people across the country did too. So not only, or if they want it, they've now been stuck with a bill to keep it because that subsidy went away. So now they got to pay that, and they got to pay, the extreme gas taxes, and they got to pay for, $5, milk. Like everything is just out of control. Like I'm surprised that we're not, hearing more about, and we are, and that, Maggie, that's the sad thing. We are hearing more about family, deaths. What do they call them? Annihilations. Like a lot of people are doing that because that's what debt drives men to do, because men consider their wife and their kids their property. And if they can't pay their bills, that's on them. And that's a blow to their manhood. And a lot of those happen, and it's just like it's a really it's like bizarro world, right? The president has gone bankrupt 3 times. The president has no financial acumen at all. He's basically just a big grifter, and he's grifting all over the place, left and right. Let his kids bet on whether or not he would say praise be to Allah on True Social, and he did. So his kids won millions of dollars. It's a playground for them, the rich and the famous, the Epstein class. And it's, very tiring. And I wish people would understand it more. And I wish our people would understand it more instead of just wanting to be in power, right? Like just like they just want, oh, if so and so was in power, then it wouldn't be like that. If so and so was like that. No way. Like this whole system is based on us, going to work for something that's fake. Money is fake. Money's fake. We're going to work every day, so we get something fake, and we spend money, spend time away from our family, which is fake. It's like we're committing to this.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we're committing to this bizarre reality and just going about it just like every day, and it's it kills me because I'm in it too. But what can you do?
I know that I think too. I think, geez, we're forced in it. We live in it. But or I've been doing the backtracking of balance. So, like this whole thing about talking about these ladies in van life and how they're choosing, and then they make these interconnections, right? Like which bathrooms or which shower places are the safest to go to. which parking lot is the safest to park in to sleep, which, like, so they start communicating, where do you get something that's the cheapest? So they have their system, and they can't be hoarders, right? Because they're sleeping in their vans. So having limited necessities. Like, how would you go and buy your so they're probably buying groceries daily, buying something to eat daily. And it may not be the healthiest of things to be eating either. And then, because where are they going to cook in this van life? Where are they going to cook a meal? And so they might have to go eat out, but then they can't afford it, right? So all of these things, how that changes. And so we have what would have been white middle class women being now forced, they retired, and then this is where they're at, living in a van. And then we have our Lakota women that where we're in this process of, like, we become grandmothers, and so then we're raising our grandchildren. We go into retirement, end up raising great grandchildren, and we're on fixed income as well, trying to balance a house. It might be low income, so I might only have to pay $300 a month for it, but you still have to pay, and you have to pay the utilities, and you have to pay all these things, and you have to figure out, well, how are you going to get school clothes? How are you going to feed these kids? How are you going to take care of them? Because that's what we do as Lakota people. Like, we take care of our children and grandchildren. And so there's, like, all of this stuff happening in this time. So it isn't just affecting the white middle class female person. It's been affecting. So we've been in this. We've been living this way for a very long time. And so what we find is what you're talking about is that we're working longer. So people might retire, and then they have to go back to work because they have more people that they have to take care of. And so even now in this time, you can have a white middle class couple living a little comfortable, but then that's going to change. The safety net of that isn't even secured, because, like you said, like, where's your money? Is your money sitting in big banks? Is it sitting in a federal credit union? What are you investing in the markets? What is your 401b, or your 401a? What are your Roth? What does all of this say, and where are you investing? And they're talking about the rigging. So Trump comes out and says there's going to be a ceasefire, and everybody goes in before the ceasefire is even announced. Everybody goes in and they buy at this low, or they sell, and then they sell everything, and then the price drops, and then they go back over here, and then they purchase. And so they're talking about, like, Nancy Pelosi. She's not a Republican. She made like some $1 million off of that deal.
Has been the whole time she's there, the whole time. And that's the problem. And the problem is that a lot of these people are rich, and they don't understand what it's like to be living in a poor. Remember when during the pandemic, and Nancy Pelosi went to her refrigerator, and her refrigerator was like gargantuan, and she was like trying to be like normal, and everyone was like, what the fuck? Oh, sorry. Anyway, like what kind of like people live like that, and what's such a huge ass fridge, like. And that's the thing, is like these people they don't understand. Like, people are so disconnected from the way they get their money, right? Like she probably inherited money from her great grandfather. And then, I found out too, also, and this is a much more reason not to like him, but that guy, the Democrat they like, what's his name? Gavin Newsom is Gavin Newsom's dad, and her Nancy Pelosi's husband were in business together. Gavin Newsom grew up around Nancy Pelosi, probably running around her pool as a kid. And so,
out
like
of the
that,
gigantic refrigerator.
Yep. Like they don't understand what it's like to be
Hmm.
poor, and frankly, it's the Democratic Party is as much responsible for the where we're at in this country as the Republicans, and they always acted like they're the innocent ones. Oh, well, we're not racist and we're not whatever. But you are. The ICE funding is racist. The more I keep reading about all that stuff, like it's a catastrophe. It needs to stop now. We need to, I think, reevaluate our whole policing system in this country. It's based on, property, and it doesn't and it was set up in a time when people were considered property. And so like this is a long time a coming, and hopefully something new will come, because what's happening now is just like the dying, decaying, ending of an empire. We were once great. We're no longer great. And we're so ignorant though. 50% of us, read at a sixth grade level. We think we're great. And because we don't have no connection to the rest of the world or no connection to anything. And we think we're great when actually we're like everyone's, a nightmare in the closet, or, where everyone's boogeyman. Like we're the bad place. But we think we're all innocent. Like that, this is what propaganda does to people. And so many people are so propagandized, even our own people. The way we revere veterans who fought in, sketchy wars, are we, I mean, I'm not attacking any of our veterans, but I'm attacking the institutions that we're representing. Are we representing the flag of the United States, or are we enemies of the United States? Too many people in Lakota country like to do both. You like to be on both sides. That's why I brought up that we brought the Jana Hunt to the council this week, and called her to task about her votes against
So who is she?
oh
Maybe
yeah,
tell the.
yeah, sorry, Jana Hunt is the District 28 representative for the State House, and she's a tribal member here in Cheyenne River. She voted against um, the free school lunch bill. And so people were upset about it. And Joe Bringsplenny, one of the council people, I guess in the land committee, they voted to take away her unit, which is huge. Her family's a long time rancher family here. I'm sure it was, probably pretty scary for them. And it should be. I think that having, getting to profit off of the resources of Indian country, you should not be racist. That's at least where we're at. We
Mhm.
should, that's at least you should not be racist, and against our people. And but what happened, boarding schools happened, and so many of our people have like a very low opinion about ourselves. I remember once we were trying to tell a boomer tribal member here that we could run the county commission, we could run the county courthouse, we could do it here, and she said, "Oh no, we can't do that." Just very low, opinion about ourselves. That's that racism. That's an internalized racism that keeps us, from doing things. We could do everything and much better than Washichus can. Let me just say, like, we could run everything better. We could do everything better if we did things on our values instead of on the values that they have. They hate children in this country. They hate them, and we protect them. That's the difference between our cultures, is that we're protectors and they're predators. They find vulnerable things and they steal them. Like that's, not a good way. And honestly, that's the truth of the matter. People always get after me for saying things that are like, horrible, but white people have a legacy that they either have to reject or they have to understand. The white people were created to differentiate humans from slaves, right? That's wipe you now. You guys are now the slave catchers. That's what they did. So you're white people, and so that was something that was created. It was created by bankers. Like there's so many of the things that we do in our country that were created by bankers or by money makers and by all this stuff that we just think is just the way it is. It's just the way it is, and we can't think any other way. We've got to be like this, got to be like this for the rest of our lives, because that's how it was when and that's the trauma. And so a lot of people can't even dream, people can't even dream. So um, it's hard, it's hard, it's hard. But also it was good to see
Did
that
we ever talk about that, Chaz, the red line?
mm,
Did we ever talk about that? Like bankers create the red line. And
yeah.
so didn't we talk about that or no?
I don't maybe offline, but yeah, I mean we have that was the red line that was created, and then the highways came after that, the interstates came after that, destroying black homes and redlining them out of success, economic success. Like all these decisions were made generation after generation after generation. Now we are sitting at the base of all of those racist acts. And if you are willing to go along with any of them, you're racist. And so, like in any kind of way here, you got to be, putting up a fight. Otherwise, you're accepting, and that's the revolution. The revolution is doing something, opposite of what we're supposed to, how we're acting how we're supposed to, not buying the new iPhone, not buying, not participating in their system. And that's why I get so sad on Facebook. I just got back on again, and it's like people are, it's so shallow. Like there's no, we don't like policy. We like pictures. We picture like, and I did that on purpose because I put my picture out there, and I was like, I know I'm gonna get a lot of likes because I put my picture out there. And the one before I was like, we need to abolish ICE. Da, 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 da. I was all mad about it, and like two people liked it. And
Mhm.
so it's like they we can only do so much. That's what I've decided. Like, we can only take so much, we can only do so much. And yeah, I can't be expecting everyone to be fighting all the battles I want to fight, because that's, they've got to fight their own battles. But so I guess, you know right now at this point, like for me, being a revolutionary really means, taking care of myself and doing the things that they don't want me to, right? I'm a menopausal woman, and all this stuff. Like I'm supposed to be just like, going off into the sunset and getting ready to die according to, the patriarchy. But I'm not, I'm building, I'm doing other stuff. I have a future ahead of me. And I think that uh, all of those like small acts that we do, every single like small act that we can do, that opposite, or like any way we can act traditionally, those things, build up. And I think that in so many ways I just get stuck in all this religion stuff, because I was listening to the Ethiopian Bible on my books, and the Abrahamic religion, all of these things are cults, right? They're cults about how this is how you do things. And Creator gave us stories, right? They gave us story. This is the story, and all of those stories involve the listener, right? So we're always proactive in our lives. It's not like, we have to do this because Muhammad did this in 1712, all this stuff. And nothing against Muhammad, and nothing, I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that, like, and I actually think Islam is probably the the purest religion maybe that exists to mankind, because of the fact the way it came. And Christianity, the Bible's been impacted so many times by rewriting with different, propagandists. I do think that, religion itself is, but and it does, it sort of answers those questions we don't answer. We pray to the great mystery, and that's just okay with us. We don't know. But a lot of religions answer those questions, and we as indigenous people are more comfortable with not knowing, because all we are tasked to do is to be good people, to take care of our relatives, to leave no trace, to do no harm, right? To
Mm.
protect to protect the people. That's those are our tasks from those are obligations that Creator gave us and that we hold in each generation, right? That those are our responsibilities to be a good person, to take care of it, all those things. And religion says, oh, do whatever you want and then say, forgive me, and then you'll be forgive because Jesus died for your sins. So good, sin away because Jesus already died for you, so you can go ahead. And that's the way they think. I mean, they honestly must think that, because how could they, do what they did in slavery and right now in Gaza, what they're doing in Gaza. How could they do that now in Lebanon? We didn't even talk about that. I mean, they're attacking Lebanon too. Like we're like it's ridiculous. Like how can they think that they're doing stuff that God wants them to, you know? Only if
Yeah,
their
and
God is a death God.
you think about how it not only like in the sect of religion, but also just in how it's funded. So here we are, we say all these great things, oh, we're gonna die, Jesus died for our sins, or I don't know, whatever the whatever Netanyahu is saying is like they're Amalek, and so therefore they're the enemy, and we must have to slaughter them. And so Jesus is the one that came and said, no, like we're peacemate, we need to not be like that. And so if you go and you read the history of Judaism, then you see like how many times, and we discussed that last week about like there were 10 times that they disobeyed their God 10 times. And so now then they sent Jesus, and then they don't consider Jesus as a person that God sent to listen to. But then the Christian, then they recognize him, and Islam recognizes him as Christians say that he's the son, and Islam says he's a messenger. But they look at from that perspective, and you continue to watch Judaism or Israel or Netanyahu continue to disobey their God. And so they do it, and then we fund it. So here now is the Christians getting behind that because of all of the APAC money, all of the everything. And so then they're taking away from us, and we're not even at a place where we're saying, yes, this is the truth and the reality, that though Donna and all of those white middle class unchis have to go live in a van because we took all of the money to go into these wars.
Yes.
Every and then the whole part of the opiate war. So that, who is behind that? Who are the funders? Who did that? And so we are facing, not just America, like that hits us the hardest in addiction on the reservation. So who funded that? And then how are they rectifying it? So there's all of those things that they do. All of this does come back, and it affects us on the reservation. It affects the Unchi because she's the one there raising all of the kids, because this group of people who accuses us of being Amalek, that we need to be destroyed. So they put opiates into our community and turned us into addicts. And so we have a meth problem, we have a fentanyl problem, and then they also, I won't blame them for the alcohol problem, but still we have an alcohol problem.
Well, it came from them. It came from them. So I believe that, they brought whiskey and flour. That's what they brought to trade from us. And that's how they got our men to sign to do what they did, got them to do. Every single one of them, those French
Right.
trader were brought in that whiskey first off. And that's true. And we don't talk about that. We should, because if you're using whiskey to get something, it is not good. It is so you have not gotten what you got in a good way. and no one, acknowledges that. We all just pretend like, oh, they just came and it was colonized, it was all good. No, and like these are not good people. It's not,
Mhm.
I mean, it's date rape, right? They came in and they got us drunk and then they took everything that we loved and that we held sacred. And we're still drunk and we're still living like that because we bought into their propaganda. We brought into their 9 to 5 propaganda, the celebrity stuff and all. I saw a some kind of hierarchy thing, and it had the people down here, and then it had celebrities, and then it had the ultra wealthy, and then it had, all that was the like the hierarchy in the world of people. And it's true the way it is. I mean, they think that we are less than human, and they treat us like that. The more and the more that's coming out of the Jeffrey Epstein files, and we don't have mass arrests, just just shows how much everyone is like, accustomed and willing to allow rape to happen. And, rape is a tool of a war. It's been used in generation after generation after generation. And what's we're finding out is not only are they rapists, but they're racists as well. And not only is it just the business people in all of these in different industries, it's academia. That's one of the things that I think we cannot forget. There is a University of California professor who wrote to Jeffrey Epstein, uh, who is still employed, who wrote to Jeffrey Epstein and said, next time I hope I don't hurt them or something. I don't kill them or something. Like it's like I'm glad. Oh no, he's like, I'm glad I didn't kill anyone, is what he said. Like, what the heck? Like, and so it's academics, and it's all these elite that are in these, Hollywood circles that are creating this propaganda and this lifestyle of the rich and famous. Even that one guy, the lifestyles of Robin Leach, he was in the files. Like the lifestyles of the rich and famous was propaganda to cover for the Rothschilds and all these other people. Like they made it seem like it's something that you could be so that they could continue as is, right? And Robin Leach they said he killed a little girl in the files. So, all of these people that we've grown up for the last 20, 30 years, seeing over and over and over again in the public eye, um, is because they decided that they chose that's what they're all manipulating. If you see any celebrity on TV, it's because of a manipulation, right? They're doing it. They're on the mainstream, they're PR people, all of that stuff. It's all manipulated, and people don't understand that. And people like really think that there's upward mobility in this country, and they think that there's, a future here, and the future is more middle-aged women and men living in vans having no homes. And and of course it's all women, that are doing that because the men have traded them in for a younger version and left them homeless like over and over and over and over again. When a woman gets sick and she's in her 40s, 50s, and 60s, they are 10 times more likely that their partner leaves them. Uh, so much so that when a woman gets sick at that age, the nurses and the doctors just advise her that's something that could happen. And what a ridiculous place the patriarchy is. Like they just use up women and then disregard them and throw them away, and they're living in vans in Mesa, Arizona. There was a movie, we talked about that movie too, that Florent oh God, I can't remember her name right now, but she was on Fargo. That woman, she was in a movie, and she was living like that as well. And she had a South Dakota connection. She came to the Badlands, and a lot of women and men live like that as well here in South Dakota. Use their mailing address here because we don't pay mailing taxes, right? So a lot of those people who live on the road have a mailing address here and vote in our elections. Actually, sadly, there are some places I can't remember what the town is, but they have like post office boxes and thousands of voters in like little tiny towns of 10 people because of people who just say that they live there, get the benefits of being there, but they're on the road. I don't know. I kind of like, I would love to live that lifestyle, be on the road a little bit. But also, I'm kind of a homebody, so I'm still living on the same place my family's been for the last 200 years. So I know I don't go too far away from home. So
Yeah, I think there's like so much that we don't think about. Like I myself, I'm a Unchi, and I think about my granddaughters are here with me. You know, my daughter lives here, my granddaughters, my son is here. My granddaughters are getting older, and so I'm like really trying to work on this understanding of our bodies, because there's so much out there about sexualization, right? Like, um, and so it's really hard. It's really hard, like to try to because they're younger. They're targeting them much younger, and we see that even like in the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. You know, like those are 5 or 6 year old girls that they're um and babies. You know that they're assaulting and killing and doing things to, and so that has, you know, that whole level of corruption is, you know, the trickle down effect has worked there. So then now we have it within reservation life. We have it where many young girls and young boys are not safe even in their homes. You know, like you have to figure out how do you pretend. I get myself overwhelmed by it because I might know it's happening, and you know, you do the reporting thing about it happening, but then what happens is a lot of people, just like in the Jeffrey Epstein thing, they're all connected. It's the same in our communities. They're all connected. So whether it's the drugs or land leasing, or you know, whatever it is, whatever that level of the threat of the corruption, it exists. And so then when you start reporting, then you become ostracized and they start attacking you. They start doing things, maybe not directly to you. They'll go over the same thing like what Netanyahu is doing, where he just goes and bombs a whole building, takes everybody out because he has no humanity. That's what happens, is then they start targeting your family, they start targeting your children, and I've been in this game for a very long time, so I know what they do and how they do it. And I felt it, my daughters felt it, my grandchildren are feeling it, you know, like all of this. And so Unchi has to figure out, do you keep speaking up about it? Because if you do that, you create a level of unsafe issues for your children, and for your family. So how do you address it? And so what is happening up there in that, you know, Epstein life is happening on my reservation, and I'm sure it's happening on your reservation. And so we have all of this stuff going on where it's been normalized. And so
that's right.
people say, what's the big deal? Who
Right.
cares? Who cares that so and so is only 16 years old, being gang raped, on meth? Who cares? That's not, you know, that's her fault. She did that. Oh, never mind that probably was happening to her since she was 5 years old, and out and put in this situation, having babies that are now left with the grandma to raise. And while they continue to manipulate and do things to women. And so it there's these connections, and living the van life, you know, like those white middle class women, even though they're lower class now, they're fortunate enough that they can just go live in a van. Like as unchis or as relatives, we choose to stay, and we choose to try to continue helping and protecting our grandchildren.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
it's
that's right.
almost
That's
like
right. A lot of
it's
people
almost
like
like
just check
we are
out.
teaching our daughters and granddaughters to be fighters, warriors at birth.
We have to be, and we always were, I think, in a way, but I think that that yeah, the patriarchy is so obvious right now, and it's so toxic, and it doesn't do any good for men. And it's a dangerous place for women and vulnerable boys. I think that rape culture is what has been going on here since 1492. And the most power patriarchy says the most powerful man in the room gets to use whatever anything available for his sexual pleasure. That's the patriarchy. That's what we've been under for the last 500 years. And if you go against that in your tribe or in your thing, whatever, you don't get the jobs, you don't get the, and nothing. I didn't, this the last chairman that we had here, I couldn't even get a job working the checkpoints at COVID. Like that's how much that guy didn't even like me. That's not even any kind of job, like doing no job. But that's how much that guy didn't like me. Why? I wonder, because he had a bunch of, he had the, bunch of anyway, he surrounded himself by women, made women do his dirty work, and had multiple wives and partners while he was in office. And so like he uses women, they use women just like people of color. So if you're a man and you can dehumanize a woman, you can dehumanize another man of color or anything like that. Like racism, sexism, same thing. And so a lot of people don't conflate the two, but they are the same. And a lot of women uphold the patriarchy too. They're the slut shamers, they're the all the other stuff. A lot of women do that and make things miserable for us. But the whole system is something that we didn't create. And we don't have to live under that, and I try to my every day try to keep my thoughts in a way that creator would appreciate them. And if you keep your thoughts in a way that creator would appreciate them, the patriarchy and all that stuff, those thoughts don't get to come in. Because if we're all related and we're all together as little creatures on this planet, none of us are better or worse than the other. We all have to take care of each other. And I think a lot of people think that, when you think about the matriarchy, that means that women are in charge. No, it means things are egalitarian. We used to always have a place for women. They were equal. I was reading about that full scroll stuff, and it used to be so much that women wouldn't touch men's war clubs. Like they wouldn't want to have the war clubs because the women are life givers and the war clubs are for taking life. And so you don't want to have those two energies. And now we have sometimes people with those two energies in their same person. Like, so life is so complicated for people. Like, who do we want to be? How do we fit into this world? Do we want to be a successful, member of this community, this society? No, I don't at all, because this is a place where spirits are eaten, right? That's what John Trudell said, and I believe that. And so, but do we want to continue to create a future for our children, for our ancestors? Yes, our descendants. Definitely. I want our people to survive. I want our culture to survive. But if folks aren't willing, to examine how sexism and how racism are displayed in their lives, then they're just perpetrating stuff because it's easy to not change, right? It's easy to not change anything. So I just want to put that out to people if anyone's watching and they feel like they feel attacked by something that we said, calling them racist or sexist. Like these things are learned, and you can unlearn them, and you can unlearn behaviors and thoughts that are destructive to you. There's no set course. Creator gave us one day. Each day we got to do it with this day, whatever we can do, the best we can do. And that's our only mission, and that's our only responsibility, is to not hurt others and continue to be a good relative, right? And we can do that, and we don't have to be recognized by non-Indians for that. That we don't have to be the Democratic Rising Star to do that. Those are things that non-Indian people um, they create these recognitions. They call us leaders and they bring us in, oh, you're a tribal leader, all this stuff that very young when I started interacting with non-Indians, did they start calling me a tribal leader. And I was always like, no, man, I'm not a tribal leader. I'm like a young kid still. My mom still gives me money. I mean, that's like, that's not, but they don't care because they'll just take whoever and come along. You're an Indian, do this opening ceremony for us, do this, whatever and because they don't want to go any deeper because when you go deeper it hurts to know that you might have had thoughts and beliefs that were hurtful to other people, and what do? You just you apologize and you move on, like, because you can't hurt yourself for what you don't know. You can't go in the past and and beat yourself up, but you can just move forward gently. I think that's the opposite of the way everyone moves forward in this world, just grabbing the world by the tongue. No, we could just go gently throughout our lives and not impact the whole world. Everyone's always trying to impact the whole world. Let's just impact our families, let's just impact our gardens, let's just get my family to be non-Trump voters, right? Like that's what I'm gonna start there. No, they're mostly all non-Trump voters, but there's one or two.
It's my family too. Like we're
Yeah,
all like, I think I have a nephew, two
yeah,
nephews that are
yeah. I
kind of
got
really,
I got a couple of second cousins that are but and one first cousin I know that did vote probably for him, but other than that, anyway. So I just think that there is a lot of ways people can make a good impact and live indigenously and without having to fight all the time, right? We don't have to fight. We just, I mean, I mean, it's true we do have to fight because they're killing the planet, but we have to pick our battles, right? We can't be fighting 24/7. It destroys you and ends up like me, like being in a burnout so bad that you don't want to organize nothing for years and years and years. So, um,
then it's like,
yeah.
who controls that though? Who controls the organizing? It's people with money. And so you could be an organizer, and it's something you've experienced, something I've experienced, where we may not have the money to do it. But somebody has money but then you can't be the organizer because we're gonna give it, somebody else has to do that. One of the things that I find very alarming in the situation of like um funding and things like that, what's happening within our communities is like our tribal councils and themselves, they don't educate themselves so that they understand what this funding is, where it's going, um, and then arguing because we don't bring forth our own data. Like we'll hire somebody to go out and get data and put it together, but it's not really, it's like some fluff piece of data. It's not like the true nitty gritty of what is happening in our communities kind of data. And so sometimes our leaders keep us in this same situation because they don't want to get down to the truth of the matter in data. So what's happening in our communities. So I think back like in 2000, maybe it was around 2010 that my young cousin, he froze to death walking back from the bootleggers. And so he froze to death. And then all of this stuff was, it was under investigation, and whatnot. But so he was about 18 years old or whatever. And he died from exposure walking back from the bootleggers in a blizzard. And so, but then just next door is another bootlegger of where he lived. Just next door, they were bootlegging. And so, as they're investigating the death of my cousin, the house next door sells vodka to an 8-year-old. And that 8-year-old drinks the vodka and ends up in the hospital for what do you call that when you drink too much of
Oh,
something?
poisoning.
Yeah. So
Alcohol.
he went alcohol poisoning. So he goes there, and the CI is sitting out, they're there. So they're sitting at my aunt's house at the time, sitting there. And so then I'm asking them, like, this just happened right here next door, like right here, this 8-year-old kid bought this, was able to go into the bootlegger and buy the damn the vodka, the cheapest vodka you can buy from them, and then go and drink it. He's 8 years old. And so then I'm raising Cain about that. But like the CIs are like, yeah, whatever. And then in another community, a couple was so high on meth that the child was like 15 months old, and they leave one of those little rocks out, and that baby puts it in its mouth. And the parents are so high on meth they don't even know what's happening. And it's the grandmother who comes in and sees the baby in convulsion, all of this stuff happening, rushes the baby to the hospital, the baby dies. And so then you're saying things about that, like, what is happening? But then they didn't do nothing. Like nothing was happening. But then I could look up at Cheyenne River and look over at Rosebud, and you guys are banning people for doing stuff like this from your reservations. And but we weren't doing anything here. And now we're like, okay, we're going to banish people, but we're only going to banish certain people, because I guarantee you that there are people still getting out of prison today that are coming back that have had 40, 50 years of drug dealing on my reservation, that are still getting to come back here, and not once has their name appeared on our banishment rolls or to be banished. And I've raised the question, and they say, well, you need to write that to somebody. And I'm like, I'm telling it to your face, that person, that whole family, but yet they're still here.
Yeah.
But you're going to go over there to district and pick on somebody that's in the district or whatever. But the people who are really been in it, who brought gang culture, bring all of this behavior, they're still thriving in our communities. Yep, they go to prison for a couple years and they get to come back.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sorry I went off.
No, I think that banishment it's a complicated thing. And I think that we should also banish child rapists. Why don't we banish them? Why do they get to come back and then re-perpetrate again? Like, it's just crazy to me. Like, I think that yeah, the only way we can make us safe is by us making us safe. We do ban people up here, but I don't think it's it's effectively kept meth out at all. I think it's just other people like continue to do it, and they can come get around it. And it's not just meth, it's alcohol, it's the other stuff, and these kinds of uh uh things are necessary in capitalism, right? They're in capitalism. They need you so desperate that you'll sell your body or sell yourself to feed your kids, right? That's the desperation. They need you to go to these jobs that steal your wages, and so that you don't get kicked out by an unscrupulous landlords. We should have no landlords. We should have no, we should have housing, heat, food, water, all for free. We should not be paying for none of that. And I agree. Like, I think that, and that's pretty progressive and pretty radical, but it's not. It's like what a lot of countries live under. It's called socialized socialism. We have socialism in this country, but it's for the corporations. It's socialism for the banks. It's socialism for the industries that do bad and then get bailed out. Right now we have all the money that we need in the world to take care of the poverty that we have, but we don't get it because we put it into things that don't make sense. Right now, we're funding all these contractors to build these prisons for ICE. Literally have prisons going up all over the country, all over the country. And there's I watched House of Representatives, two of them, three of them come in. They were living like sardines in the one in Mesa, Arizona, living like sardines. The place was for 150 people. They had triple that amount. Right now, today, we have people packed like sardines in prisons and concentration camps. And why do we have them there? If they're so bad, get them out of here, kick them out. Why are they sitting in prisons? Send them home. There's all kinds of nefarious activities happening around here. And that's an industry. People are making money off of it. People are going to taking those jobs. And so, if we're ever going to change anything in this country, we're going to have to, I guess, have standards for what we'll do to take money, right?
Yep. Yep. It's just,
Anyway.
I don't know. Yeah. It's just, I always try to think about like the frustration of it, and then like, well, how do you not get caught up in the negativity or the depression of that? And so then I always have to bring it back to the like, well, now you have to take control. You have to, the things that you can control in your life, that's what you should try to do. So things that I do, like my housing was always provided by where I worked. So then, you had to obey, you had to obey or whatever your employer, couldn't go out of line or, there could always be a threat of losing your job. So then you become homeless. And that did happen to me. I was homeless many times in my life. And so I then went to getting a trailer. It's not brand new. It's it's kind of like recycled. So I've been trying to fix it for the past 10 years. That's what I've been doing. I slowly do a little of, when I can afford to do it. And then I garden. Everywhere I've lived, I've gardened. I garden. One of the things that I haven't done so well is outside, because I used to do the Three Sisters method of gardening. And then I didn't have space and stuff. So then I just went back to kind of doing row gardening. That hasn't worked out so well for me. So I think I'm going to go back to my Three Sisters method of gardening. And then just trying to do things like that. So on my land, I have a bunch of choke cherries. I have buffalo berry trees. I have plums. And so then I try to do that. So I pick my things, and then I usually I'll say, come pick, you can come pick, but I'd get after people sometimes because those buffalo berries, you can't pick them before they're ready. And then I had some people that would just come in and break the branches off, and then, and so they were ruining my trees. So then I had to get ornery with them. No, you have to ask permission before you come. Even for the choke cherries, you have to ask for permission, because I don't want you breaking the branches. I don't want you ruining the trees. And so I let people come and pick, and then if they can't pick and they want me to pick, then I charge them. Because then I will pick them, and then I clean them, and then I'll tell them, so if you want me to just clean them up, it's going to be this much and bag them. Or if you want me to grind them, and then it'll be this much. But if you want me to do all of that plus dry them so you have patties, then it's this much. And so then I kind of do that with people. And then elders, sometimes I just give it to them, here, you can go ahead and have that. But just because it's a lot of work, people who do this know how much work it is. And so I have people that they don't even care. I'll give you whatever you want, Maggie, because I don't want chiggers. I don't want,
Yeah, that's right.
I don't want to deal with all these things. And so those are the things. And then even now, what we should be doing is cellars. We should be building underneath ground. There's something going on. Everybody, all these government things, they're building towns, and there's a whole city underneath New York.
Yeah, I think I think they know something's happening. Who knows if it's going to be an asteroid or the big quake. They talk about the earthquake over on the right hand side or whatever. Yeah, and they have these underground cities. They've built many of them. They got one in Los Angeles too. They've got several in Kentucky and all of these places. And the scary thing is that you can't trust none of them, right? You can't trust like anything that they
Mhm.
say is not true. Like you can't trust Trump, you can't trust the Department of Defense or the Department of War. You can't trust any of them. So yeah, I do think people should definitely have a storm, some kind of shelter that keep them underground, and be prepared for anything.
The other thing is protecting yourself.
You know,
Like um like I'm anti-gun and like I don't feel like I need that stuff, but now it's like, oh, I might need that. I mean, I might need to know how to do that because ICE might show up here.
that's right.
Like something, some government, these people might show up here. And so I might need to know how to do that. And my kids might need to know how to do that because we need to defend ourselves.
Yeah, because now we're seeing that the government isn't everyone, right? It's not some of us are us and some of us are them. And we're the those, right? So we're not with them. And so we're gonna be targets. And that's right. Like it's scary and it's only gonna get worse. And I just really wish white people would just collect their own, right? Just take care of your racist uncle. Tell your racist grandma to shut up. Like, that is not we don't need to be we can't choose, but we can't tell the difference, right? We can't tell the difference
Right.
between you guys. Like we don't know. It's you all look the same. So, and not all white people are racist. But all Americans, I think if you believe that America meant was meant to be and is a great place to be, then that's racist itself because that means that you mean that our people needed to die and that we needed to not be in here. So that is racist. So I don't know. It's a hard. It's hard because we're propagandized to be racist. So if you're not racist in America, that's you're you're different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So from van life to Unchi life to
to
talking about
gardens.
to gardens to talking about Cheyenne River standing up for themselves. I'm really proud of them that they did that because we elect people that think they're Trumpers. They're
Oh,
Trumpers and
shit.
that they're going to go over there and they're going to be able to vote that way and take away from our communities with like there's some privileged class. So that's good for them. And I hope they do take their lead.
Well, they
So
didn't. I just want to be clear about that. They brought her to council. The committee said they wanted to take it away. The council did not. So,
the committee should keep at it until they take her lease. I mean,
yeah.
there's got to be a lesson because how many children did she cause to starve now?
Well, it's true. It's true.
So she should starve too. I mean, we have to learn to do that. We have to learn to be ornery and stand our ground until these people understand we're just as serious as them. I mean, I
Well,
was
that's
so
right.
proud of some of our Oglala council members. They were at Pier talking to the governor, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you guys are the ones that banished Christy Nome," and then he went on to talk about like how he's still going to have fireworks 4th of July. He's still going to do this, and they said, "No, you won't. We're in fire hazard." "No, you won't." He's like, "Yes, I am." And they said, "Keep it up, we'll banish you too." Like that's what you need. His face changed, but that's what you need to do. Like you have to not. Our leaders have to man up or woman up or go sit somewhere else. Don't get in those low roles if you can't do it.
Well, and stop giving them freaking headdresses and star quilts. The next time any one of
I
these
know.
people get a star quilt, I'm gonna slap them. Like
I
Browns and all those
know.
guys. None of those guys deserve shit.
Deserve shit. They don't because they're, but then, I mean, I don't know because they did do, they fought to make sure that tribal colleges weren't losing their funding. They fought to make sure we wouldn't lose our IHS dollars. So in the end, they fought against Trump, big beautiful bill, and they made sure that Indian country. And so I said, well, at least then John Thune knows who he's representing. So he, making his big arguments and fighting to secure our funding, that we didn't lose what Trump wanted to take. Not granted that they didn't increase, they only increased funding for law enforcement, and they only increased funding for IHS mental health, were the two areas that they increased. They didn't increase in budgets in education, and they didn't increase budget just in our general welfare. They didn't increase our budgets there. They just increased it in mental health because of the opiates, the opioid crisis. So remember, they sued them and they have to give money. So that, and then of course public safety to lock us up.
Yeah. That's what they like. That's what they like. I told you I went to Australia that one time, and every town I went to, the next tourist attraction was a prison. I'd be like, what? Why do you guys all, why is this all here? This is that they like to lock us up. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining, Chaz. It's a great conversation.
yep.
A little deep, but sometimes you got to go there.
As always, see you again. Take care.
Yep, you too. Thank you guys for joining us this week. We started a little late, so we kind of continued to go into our time. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow. Commenting is helpful. I always appreciate all the comments going on when they're going on in the comment section. And then there's this little thing too on the side. It's like a heart, and you can click on that. And then, so like you can see, you can do that. Are this. So you should use those. Learning ways to boost the Toksa Hour. And then don't forget to share it on other platforms. Surely appreciate it. You guys have a good rest of your day, rest of your week, and get to planting your gardens, or even